Hi and welcome. Today I wanted to read to you Wassielawyer's final contribution to the Terra collapse, as he calls it. It's kind of a hybrid proposal called the Sanest Compromise, combining the Terra ecosystem revival plan and the Fat Man plan. So I'm going to skip through some of this introductory material and his disclaimer. He's saying that he has a small stake in the Terra ecosystem, less than 10,000 UST. But I'll link to this in the notes. Skip to the starting point. The starting point. Let us first think about who the stakeholders are after the astronomical collapse in the last week. An incredible community of builders facing uncertainty about their future. Firm believers in Luna who have seen their investments crash to a fraction of a cent. Stablecoin stakers who have lost 80% to 90% of their savings. Post-DPEG investors who bought in cheap but still lost big as the protocol death spiraled. The interests of each of these stakeholders must be considered for any compromise plan to be successful. Now let us think about what proposals have been mooted. 1. The Terra Ecosystem Revival Plan based on Luna Go Forward Plan. This is what I consider to be a builder-favored plan, which is sensible because it is the builders that will drive value to the proposed new Terra ecosystem, Terra 2.0. Without the buy-in of the builders, Terra 2.0 is hopeless before it even begins, and everyone receives zero, whether they hold Luna or UST. This plan also broadly aligns with pre-peg Luna stakeholders, because these are the guys that bought into the Terra project and Terra ecosystem. It broadly accounts for post-DPEG Luna buyers in a manner which is not entirely unfair by allocating them 10% of Terra 2.0, allowing anyone who wants to stay in to exit by trading away their Luna or holding on to it for Terra 2.0 tokens. However, it is not palatable to UST investors, even though it is evident that the plan wants to compensate them by giving them a large 40% share of Terra 2.0. This is because UST investors do not want a speculative investment and bought into the Terra ecosystem on the promise of a stablecoin. It does not matter how much speculative value you give them, many of them cannot even pay their rent the next month. Plan number 2, the tiered repayment favoring small wallets plan, which leads us to Fat Man's tiered repayment favoring small wallets plan. This plan is incredibly sensible and replicates what would happen if there were a bank run in conventional banks. The bank would guarantee each depositor up to a certain amount, and if Fat Man's math is right, a large supermajority of UST holders can be made whole. The downside of this plan is that it is entirely reliant on an LFG buyout, which may or may not be forthcoming. It also does not consider the interests of stakeholders other than the UST holders. This is fine. I do not think this is meant to be a comprehensive proposal. And number 3, the economic refactoring proposal. This isn't part of the combined plan I have put together, but just wanted to list it here because someone will inevitably ask about it. I think it is a reasonable plan that can be folded into a broader plan if this plan doesn't work. It requires new money, but it requires buy-in from the builders. The blended plan. What if we use the revival plan as a starting point, but then also implemented the Fat Man proposal? Here's what it would look like using the revival plan as a starting point. 1 billion tokens, new tokens in the Terra 2.0, which allocate as follows: 20% to developers, 40% to Luna holders at the time of depegging, 10% to Luna holders at the end of the old chain, 30% to the rescue financiers or angel investors. The 30% of the tokens will be allocated to angel investors in exchange for an investment of between 1 billion and 1.5 billion. And what do we do with the 1 to 1.5 billion? We implement Fat Man's proposal to make the supermajority of the UST holders whole up to a maximum of $50,000 per wallet, snapshot at the time of the attack. The excess, if any, will be used to fund the developers. Note that the allocation above are subject to change and further discussion. This is simply a starting point for a recovery framework. Wait, where the heck are we getting angel investors? Terra 2.0 remains an incredibly investable product. The ecosystem has inherent value as long as there is a team of builders and investors who believe in the ecosystem. There are two potential sources of funds here. One, Terraform Labs / Luna Foundation Guard. This is a source of funds Fatman was considering in his proposal. If TFL / LFG is willing to commit these funds, we can easily close a case. TFL / LFG redeem themselves in the eyes of the community and, at least partially, repair their reputation. 2. New money. As mentioned above, Terra 2.0 is an investable proposition, especially if it can retain its talented builder teams and emerge with some sort of goodwill. What better way to restore the reputation of the chain than to have a reputable and legitimate new investors come in and take a stake? Yes, but isn't a valuation of $3.5 to $5 billion ridiculous? This valuation is not unsupportable. Assuming that the market is pricing in the revival plan as the most likely outcome at this point, the market cap of UST equates to 40% of ownership in Terra 2.0. Considering UST is currently trading between 15 and 20 cents and has 11 billion in supply outstanding, it can be concluded that the market currently values Terra 2.0 at around 4 billion, not including a discount for uncertainty. If this is too high a valuation, an alternative would be to raise half the amount, which values the chain at 1.7 to 2.5 billion, allowing each UST holder within the Fatman proposal the election to make 50 cents on the dollar or accept new Luna tokens. Modifying the percentage allocation would also affect valuations. Why does this work? Let us consider the interest of each stakeholder group if we are able to successfully implement this proposal. Builders. A significant ownership proportion of the new chain is set aside for the builders, potentially more than the revival plan on its own would have allocated to them. This is the cornerstone of the success of Terra 2.0. UST holders. If over 99% of the UST holders can be made whole, Terra 2.0 starts off as a successor to a chain that has sustainably fulfilled its promise to people who entrusted their life savings to its predecessor protocol. This is an immense amount of goodwill, and goodwill forms a cornerstone of Terra 2.0. Angel investors. Angel investors get to participate in the upside of Terra 2.0 and come in at what could turn out to be a deeply discounted price. They also get immense community goodwill from having participated in the first ever crypto bailout. Pre-attack Luna holders. Pre-attack Luna holders bought Luna because they believed in the ecosystem. Giving them new Terra 2.0 is equitable because this mirrors their investment into the old chain. If Terra 2.0 is successful, the price of their Terra 2.0 tokens will soar once again. Having angel investors come in to provide goodwill and restore brand image will also go a long way in restoring trust, which in turn translates to value in Terra 2.0. Post-attack Luna holders. There are broadly two categories of holders here, but both caught the knife. One are those Luna holders that believe so firmly in the protocol that they kept buying on the way down. The other are speculators that bought believing in a quick buck. Whatever their motivations, they need to be ascribed value. This proposal gives them value in Terra 2.0. If they are long-term holders, they simply have to hold their post-attack Luna and get an even bigger chunk of Terra 2.0. If they are short-term speculators, the announcement of this plan will create a market for people who want the Terra 2.0 token, allowing the speculators to exit. Note: implementing Fatman's proposal in conjunction with the revival plan allows the allocation amount to the angel investors to be lower than to the UST holders because you have to pay more value to the UST holders to accept an instrument he fundamentally does not want. and angel investors comes in knowing he's getting a good deal if he can exit off of the success of Terra 2.0 in 2 years. A UST holder just wants to pay his rent next month. What we are doing here is giving the stakeholders the sort of instruments they want. This allows us to be efficient with value. Concluding remarks. Combining the two proposals as per the above allows us to align the interests of the various stakeholder groups and allows us to allocate value efficiently. Builders and goodwill are the two key pillars of Terra 2.0, and you cannot have a successful relaunch without either. While the revival plan is reasonable in its treatment of builders and Luna, pre- and post-attack holders, because it allocates them an instrument that mirrors what they had in the old chain, this is not the case for UST. This makes paying UST investors off with the Terra 2.0 token far more expensive than reimbursing UST investors with capital raised for people who actually want exposure to Terra 2.0. Next steps. I have drafted a broader letter outlining the proposal to be addressed to potential rescue financiers and handed it over to a group of builders trying their hardest to rebuild the Terra ecosystem. It broadly explains to the rescue financiers the plan above and what the benefits of providing such financing are. They, or whoever they choose to share it with, can edit this as applicable and share this with potential angel investors in due course in hopes of getting them on board. Note that this group of builders have not yet decided to support or reject the proposal. This is simply a unilateral act on my part to make it easier for them to pursue this option if they choose to do so. I'm going on vacation, so will not be engaged in this matter for the next few days, and in fact this may be my last engagement on this matter. I want to reiterate that I am providing individual engagement with this matter out of academic interest. I have no relationship to TFL, LFG, any builder group, or any fund. All the views expressed here are my own and do not represent that of any other person or collective. Honestly, all I do is help build and animate Penguin NFT project. Edit to add a correction. It has been correctly raised to me that this leaves UST purchasers on the secondaries out to dry. This should not be the case, and they should also receive value. I would propose that UST holders be treated the same way as the Luna holders that purchase post-attack and allocate percentages to that class of holders be increased. Alright, so that's the sanest compromise according to wassielawyer. Thanks for joining and follow for more like this.